Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Friday, January the 28th. And welcome to our video series. We started that in 2022, and we will be doing many of these videos and inviting some of our favorite friends and favorite political commentators. And today we're joined by Leslie Eastman. Many of you know Leslie is a friend of our show, but as well as a legal contributor to Legal Insurrection. So let me say hello to Leslie. Hi, Leslie. How are you?
Happy Friday to you, Silvio, and the audience. And I hope everybody's getting ready for a really wonderful weekend.
Yes, I agree. I hope everybody has a nice weekend. I think the people up north are getting ready for a storm, but we don't have to worry about that, at least not in Texas or Southern California where you are. Well, Leslie, you have been on our show many times, and you're always have great political opinions. But you always enjoy with me going back on this day in history and remembering something pretty important that happened on this day in 1986, and that was the tragedy, what came to be known as the Challenger tragedy, where that ship, blew up. Going up in space, and there was a teacher, as you remember, in that crew. So, any memories of that, Leslie?
Well, I think the biggest one for me is that I was in graduate school at the time, and I
Mm.
had gotten to campus, and literally everywhere I turned, TVs were tuned to the coverage of the story. And it was such a shock because, of course, I was in the science side of the university, and I think it hit pretty hard. So, mostly all my friends and I bailed on the rest of the day and sat in front of TV and listened to Ronald Reagan's very stirring memorial. And, it we are blessed to have so few incidents like that when you explore space. It is an unforgiving environment. And yeah, with the power and the chemistry that goes behind those rockets, it's amazing technology that gets the loads and payloads up and the people up that they do. I think many valuable lessons were learned from that. Unfortunately, there was also, I believe, the Columbia one many years
Hmm.
later. So
Yeah.
it was not a flawless system, but good for the most part, got many people up and down. And prayers for the families who's still here, who have to remember, as well as the prayers to everybody else currently involved in our space program that that never happens again.
And that, of course, is hits home for you because your son is well in a space cadet, right? Is that what
I
it
was
is?
going to say he is exploring his opportunities at the U.S. Air Force Academy presently. We will see what direction those opportunities take. I'm hoping for the first Starship captain,
Yes,
but
yes. There you go.
Mom's going to have to take what Blake decides. So
Yeah,
we'll
no, I
see.
understand. I understand, but I think it's fun, exciting, to think that your son could be the captain of one of those ships in the future. You never know. You never
Yeah.
know. Hopefully, it'll happen. But that tragedy that day, as you say, hit home because I was thinking about it this morning. That as you remember, the telecast was being shown in just about every high school in the country, in the audiences, the auditoriums. So all these high school kids were watching this because
Oh,
there was a
yes. That's
teacher.
yeah.
And I was thinking that many of those high school kids now are in their 50s because they were 16, 17 years old back then. And here we are 36 years later. So time does have a way of flying by, I should say. But the memories, I think that lady teacher really left her mark on not just
Christine
those
McCall, I
students.
believe her name was.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And it was
So
just a great, a tragic moment, but at the same time, a great moment that she got to go on that mission. I remember when she was named to go on that mission, everybody in the country was talking about the fact that a teacher would be going up in space. I thought that was great. Well, let's get into some of the topics of the week, Leslie. There are many. And I know that as a contributor to Legal Insurrection, you write a great deal about COVID and where we are. So I wanted to do is get your latest take on COVID and the viruses and Delta and all the others. Get your latest take on that. And then I want to move to Canada, our friends up north, where they're having a pretty big rebellion. The truckers up there are pretty angry. So tell us about COVID. I know you wrote recently about this. Tell us where you think we are right now on COVID,
Um,
Leslie.
Well, I would invite my readers to visit several of my posts, and the biggest one I would invite them to read is the one entitled, this is not our first global coronavirus pandemic. We had one, it was referred to as the Russian flu. It struck in the late 1800s. It was a 5, 6 year cycle. And the reason I say this is the virus that struck had a remarkable similarity to the symptoms we are experiencing with coronavirus now. At that time, if you recall, it was steamships and trains were connecting the world globally for the first time. And there are 5 or 6 different waves of COVID that's coronavirus, I should say, that struck. And you could see those waves go through, and they masked and they did things. Nothing worked. But what did work is people got exposed. Unfortunately, did people did pass away. It was not a trivial thing, but those who was carried on actually had enhanced immunity. Like we're seeing today, the virus devolved into something a little less virulent, a little less likely to kill people, and is now part of the suite of respiratory viruses we get seasonally, which is what I predicted, yay, about a year ago. And lo and behold, before our eyes, because now we have a couple of technologies, we have the technology to pull apart the virus. So we are seeing not only variants, but subvariants. So now the media wants to get us all scared about the stealth Omicron. Well, it's just a subvariant of the Omicron causing all the cold like symptoms for most people that we already know about. People are building up their T cell immunity. Now, T cell immunity is something that not has been not talked about, but it was the antibodies that the vaccines were generating, and you could see how Omicron blew through the antibody protections. So those who had T cell immunities were actually did much better with the Delta when they got infected. And if they've gotten coronavirus naturally, they've got now enhanced T cell immunity for any other variant that comes through. So we're going to wave again until again everybody is going to get some form of coronavirus. And people now have to decide and make sensible choices for themselves. And policymakers have to make choices understanding that this is an endemic virus. It's not going away. It's found in animals. It's a respiratory virus. It just is here. So that being said, a couple of news items include Denmark just opened up their country fully. No masks, no restrictions on organizations. And I think the experience with Omicron has opened up a lot of people's eyes as to the power mad vaccine pushing medical establishment, and people are beginning to rebel, as we see in Canada. And I want to back up one more. There is another post on Legal Insurrection I encourage everybody to take a look at. It is my one on the second opinion panel given by Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson, senator, held a panel. It was very informal, but he had very many learned scholars on there who have been demeaned, smeared, really hit hard by the media as quote unquote misinformation. Yet, if you see the presentations, you see they have data, they have scientific analysis, they have a lot of backup information to validate their opinions that in ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine are early treatments that could have been effective when applied early, and they, these research and studies promoted by our experts were tailored to make those studies, seem like they weren't as effective. And it shows without a doubt that of the 4 pillars of vaccine pandemic response that have been promoted, they neglected the early treatment. And the early treatment one is the one that was going to work, because that is how we get through COVID. That is how we build up our T cells. And that is how we actually get over this particular pandemic. That is the pillar that should have been really built upon. And that is the pillar that has been ignored in favor of vaccines. Yeah. So that's just my preaching today.
No, that's good. That's very excellent. What I wanted to say is that before we get to Canada, that sometimes it depends where you live, I guess, for the reaction. I mean, here in Texas, as you know, we've been opened for much of the time. We did close a little bit like April and May of 2020, and that was because nobody really knew. But pretty much by Memorial Day or the end of May in 2020, we've opened, and our economy has been opened since. And we have not had a crazy spiral of viruses. In fact, the new statistics show that it's peaking. The latest variant is peaking here in Texas. And even if you look at the hospitals, uh, something like 40% of the hospitals are COVID. The rest is just normal stuff. And I do think that there, as you mentioned, that the media has loved to hype this up a little bit. I am convinced, and I'll say it, I know this was not necessarily our topic today, but I'll say it again. I really believe that in 2020, the virus was used to defeat President Trump. But I think that it was politicized in a very ugly way, just to defeat President Trump. And I think that politicization and Dr. Fauci and many of the others have created the kind of confusion where people today don't know what to believe because there are so many things out there and it's all been very political. I just wanted to get that in because I think that, when I see the decisions that we could have made in 2020, they would have prevented many of the problems that we now have, Leslie. Like you indicated, some of the pre-treatment that could have helped us so much to keep this from getting as bad as it is, Leslie. Just a little political commentary that I wanted to throw in, Leslie.
Absolutely. I think when you take a look at the pandemic response in the light of clear data-driven science, those people who decided to push vaccines instead of early treatments are responsible for deaths in the thousands. And that doesn't even begin to get to the point that Fauci and Collins seem to be connected to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where this virus more than likely got its start, and the fundings associated with the gain of function research on bat viruses, which seems at this point to be the most likely origin of this particular virus. So lots of really incredibly treacherous, bad, I'm going to say evil decisions made by people interested in their own power. And the good thing about Americans is that we're resilient. And the good thing about Americans is that eventually we will get the truth and we will understand the truth and we'll act on the truth as a nation. And
Right.
that is why you and I are here today, to make sure that we give people the information they need so they can make a fully informed decision on what's going on, especially for the next election cycle.
Absolutely. And I just want to remind everyone that Leslie writes for Legal Insurrection, one of the many websites in the United States, but one of the best when it comes to political commentary. And she writes a great deal in the science section of, because Leslie looks like a scientist, doesn't she? Just look at her face. She looks like a scientist, right, Leslie? Well, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
I
looks like a
am the science officer for my site. Yeah, I've got
okay.
degrees in geology, chemistry, biochemistry, and I've geeked around with engineering and computer
Right.
technology. So I kind of the jack of all trades and the master of none. But when it's
Absolutely.
military
But
and science and technology, it hits my inbox and I opine.
absolutely. No, absolutely. We know that. And that's why we have you on the podcast so often. But let's talk a little bit about Canada. Our friends up in Canada are really up in arms. The truckers are. And I thought it was interesting. You mentioned something in your latest article that Prime Minister Trudeau is referring to them as a crazy, well, maybe not crazy, but a French minority. And I find that to be insulting. These are people who are defending their livelihoods. They don't have to do this. They're taking time off from work. So here you have Prime Minister Trudeau, who I don't like, but that's okay. He is the Prime Minister. He's attacking them. And what a terrible choice of words to refer to people who are defending their livelihood as crazy in a way. I think that's detestable for the Prime Minister to do that. And I salute the truckers up in Canada. I hope they keep lining up, Leslie.
Yeah, so many different chestnuts to roast with this one. To begin with, fringe minority, really? This is the largest truck convoy in the history of the planet. It's about 40 miles long. 5,000 trucks are participating. So if this is a fringe minority, that's quite a lot of fringe on that there.
That's right. That's right.
Now,
That's right.
next is that when the truckers pass by, it's like a parade. Thousands of people are cheering them on because Canadians, for the most part, have had quite enough. The other interesting aspect of it is they're protesting the vaccine mandate, but also the vaccine passport. And as was pointed out recently, I believe on Tucker Carlson, their little passport system, you put it on the phone, proves you're vaccinated, and they can check you pretty much anywhere. They have the equipment to check you. So it's a really great way, if it's on your phone, that they can check you for whatever you're doing. And as we've seen in the recent news cycles, based on how what your vaccine status is, you may be eligible for things or not, like life-saving treatment. So there's a lot of, again, evil, bad policy decisions, authoritarianism that is associated with this, that those truckers are protesting with a great deal of support. They have about $4 million that were given to them by supporters on GoFundMe, and GoFundMe thought it was a great idea to hold up the disbursement of those funds until the truckers organizing this came up with a plan. So big tech is also throttling this. Now, Trudeau, he's an elitist, he's a globalist. I think he's the one of the biggest political buffoons. I'd say the biggest, but the current honor of that title belongs to the occupant of the White House now. But he's right up there, and the whole condescending elitist, we're better than we don't have to pay attention to. In fact, he's claiming he got exposed to COVID so he can disappear for the 4 days those truckers are slated to be in Ottawa presenting their case to the Capitol. So it's very complicated. I'm praying that the Canadians maybe choose a little bit differently next election cycle. I'm praying we choose a little bit differently the next election cycle. So, but God bless Canada. God bless those truckers. Thank you for the inspiration. And we are following you from down south.
Well, I understand some truckers are going north. That's what I understand, that some American truckers are joining them, which is a good thing. But I don't know, and how many people in Canada know that all these mandates that President Biden has tried to impose on private industry have been shot down by the courts. And here in Texas, we've been at the forefront of many of those court battles where we have simply said, no, you don't have the authority to impose those mandates on private businesses. Now, again, Canada is a little different parliamentary system. I know all of that. But here, the states are the ones who basically were rebelling against these mandates. And I've never understood where the president of the United States has the authority to tell a trucker, let's say, that he should be vaccinated. That's a personal decision that you make as a trucker, and it's your business. Make your decision. And if you don't like it, I guess you don't have to buy anything from that truck, Leslie.
Well, there's so many, again, just us to roast with this. First of all, the vaccines, they don't behave like vaccines that we traditionally have enjoyed. For example, while we do need a tetanus booster, that tetanus booster comes once every 10 years. And I think most people would find once every 10 years reasonable. Next, well, people say it's just like the flu vaccine, except the flu vaccine is optional. We're not mandated to take the flu vaccine. Now, a lot of us make that choice on a seasonal basis because we don't want to get stricken by the flu. I know I often choose it because I can't afford days off of work. So that's my choice. But again, they often guess with the wrong strain when the start of the season. So maybe you get the flu anyway, or maybe it's just a less version of the flu. But still, it's not mandated. With these vaccines, it is was experimental technology, and based on a wide variety of data. Check the second opinion panel from Ron Johnson for all that data and encourage everybody to do so. I have opted, I will not pursue more, I will not do a booster, I will not do anything at all for the rest of it. And that's a personal choice. The better choice for me is to stay healthy, keep a healthy weight, keep up with my vitamins, and just do things to take care of myself to build up my own immune system so I can handle it when I actually do get COVID.
No, I think that's it. It's always been a personal matter. And I think that that's the way it has to be. But I am so happy to see those, to see those truckers and all those people on the highways in Canada waving at them and supporting them. I didn't realize the Canadians got that excited, but they surely got excited about this issue. I thought they only got excited over hockey, Leslie, but I guess they really got excited over this issue as well. But it's really nice to see them. It's really nice to see them out there supporting, because it is a matter of personal, you know, decision. Well, let's move on. Our time is flying, as it always is. And we're talking to Leslie Eastman, contributor to Legal Insurrection, one of the guys that you should be clicking to. It's available on the website. Just go Legal Insurrection, and you can read Leslie and some of the other contributors to Legal Insurrection, including the professor Jacobson, who founded that website years ago. Let's talk for a few minutes, Leslie. We've had now a year of the Biden administration. And if you look at all of the polling data, it's not looking real good. The last 11 presidential approval polls are from like 37 to 42. He's not doing very well. I just saw a little video that the lady in Florida who's running for the Senate against Marco Rubio does not want to invite President Biden to campaign with her. Down here in Texas, Beto O'Rourke, who's running against Governor Abbott, said that he did not want to invite President Biden. So nobody wants this guy around. And I kind of feel sorry for him. He's going to be very lonely in this campaign, Leslie.
Well, it's very fascinating that today, at least published on the Hill and the Daily Mail and where others, there was a poll that said that Biden would win in a matchup against Trump and Biden would win in a matchup against DeSantis. And the response to those polls have been a series of mocking memes and disbelief. The administration is clearly in trouble. And I do not feel sorry for Biden. He made choices up and down. And I really would like to see, and I think it's gotten to the point, especially after what has occurred with his conversation with the president of the Ukraine. Apparently, he went off the rails completely during the conversation with President of Ukraine. Release the transcript, embrace the fact we need to implement the 25th Amendment. And while I don't love Kamala Harris, sometimes you just got to roll the dice that you have. And I think it's time to bring her on because we do not have a functional president of the United States. And that is a very serious problem for a country
Right.
of like US.
Right. Well, you have that. You're right. That conversation with the president of Ukraine, they don't want to release that. They're hiding that, which is kind of ironic because I'm sure you remember how they all wanted to release the transcript
Oh,
with the Trump. Remember that one? But I think you're right. I think you're right. The
oh
only
yeah.
thing that worries me about the 25th Amendment is Kamala Harris, but we may come to that. I mean, by the way, for those, I know that there may be some people who are not familiar with the 25th Amendment. The 25th Amendment is what allows, through the Constitution, the replacement of the president for whatever medical reason or whatever reasons may be. And that would, of course, mean that Kamala Harris would be the president of the United States. That doesn't make me very happy, but you're right. Joe Biden is not looking very bright these days. And, he's starting to show signs, Leslie, of a frustrated man. He's starting to argue with the press. And, Peter Doocy the other day had a little encounter with him. And he's starting to look like a man who, like, I hate to say this, I hate to put it this way, but he's starting to look like an old man who's angry. And that's not what you want in the White House, Leslie.
Well, the press engagements with the press are engagements with the press. If you just swore at Peter Doocy, no big deal. But it's things like the conversation with the Ukrainian president that, yeah, that one doesn't smell right. And then there were others that you can see in the streaming, him discussing about a trip to some sort of truck plant in Dearborn where he wandered off the rails, him talking over a CEO whom he invited. It's clear that his mental capacity is diminished. And whoever thought it was a good idea to insert him into the office of the president and try to control and manipulate him, great job, guys.
That's
Um,
right. Great job. We're
yeah,
grateful for that.
yes. So whatever you may think of the election, these are the cards we're dealt. And I don't think we'd have, I'd have the same concern now with Kamala. And I don't like Kamala. Don't think she's a genius. But certainly at this point, it's time to really game plan that, because that conversation with the Ukrainian president, release the transcripts, let us make a fully informed decision. But let's start having a conversation about the 25th Amendment
That's
today.
right. That's right. Well, Leslie, we're going to have to wrap it up, but I want to mention once again that you write for Legal Insurrection. You're the science contributor there at Legal Insurrection. We want to recommend to everyone to check out Legal Insurrection. And as I say, we just started this video series in 2022, and we're honored to have you as our second guest on the series. And you will be back many more times
Well,
during the
just to give your
year.
readers a heads up, I think you and I are talking about our usual Valentine's Day
Yes,
special.
yes,
And
yes,
so we will be doing that with one difference. I think we're going to focus on positive news stories because it's going to be
yes.
Valentine's Day. So we're going to have to start setting those aside.
That's right.
And
And for the viewers who may not be familiar with what we've done, Leslie and I and a few other friends sometimes have done Valentine's shows every year. And of course, Leslie, being a great fan of Cleopatra, has from time to time done shows on that as well. So we are putting that together. And whether we do it on audio or video, we're still thinking about that. But definitely we will do one sometime in February. Leslie always has these great ideas about Valentine's Day. And I remember one year when we had several guests and we did that one about all the big couples in history. Remember that? I thought that was
yeah,
a great
yeah, it was really a
that was
lot of
great. That was
lot
absolutely
of
great.
fun.
But so we will plan that together and let the audience know. But these video series, or this video series, is something that we started this year. And we just think that this way, particularly when we have a guest, that this is a way of maybe reaching out to more people and letting the audience take a look at the guests, like in this case, Leslie Eastman, contributor to Legal Insurrection. So, Leslie, my best to you and
Okay.
to your
Well, can I say
family.
one more thing?
Yes, please.
With the Scottish retirement of Judge Breyer, you will want to check on Legal Insurrection because Professor Jacobson and our team do focus a lot on the Supreme Court of the United States. Their opinions are par excellence. And really, if you want to stay informed on all the kabuki theater and drama that is going to be associated with the Breyer retirement, that's the place you want to go
Yes,
to.
because Professor Jacobson, who started Legal Insurrection, is a professor of law, right? He
Right.
is a
So,
professor. So nobody knows this topic better than he does. So
no,
you're
nobody
right about
does.
that.
Yeah.
Leslie, have a
So,
wonderful day. And thank you so much for
all
joining
right.
us. And you look great as always. And have a wonderful day. My best to you and to your son and to your family. And have a wonderful day. This
All
is
right. Bye,
Silvio Canto.
Silvio.
Bye bye, Leslie. And this is Silvio Canto in Dallas saying thank you for watching. And we'll be in touch again soon. Thank you